And we have with us Ed Lazear, the former chairman of the U.S. Council of Economic Advisors, currently professor at Stanford University Graduate School of Business. Thank you for waiting through the commercial break with us, Professor Lazear. So as we went to commercial break, you were explaining that you believe we came out of the recession because the financial crisis had ended. But obviously, you too just heard the president say that federal stimulus program helped avoid a second depression. Do you buy that?
Well, unfortunately, I wish it were that easy, and I wish that we could simply institute a government program that would turn the economy around. I certainly don't want to contradict the president, and I know he's trying to do his best to deal with the economic recovery. Let me just say that the facts don't support the conjecture that the stimulus was a significant component in turning the economy around. If you look at the first quarter of 2009, we had -6% growth. If you look at the fourth quarter of 2009, we had almost plus 6% growth. That entire swing of 12 percentage points was a result of changes in investment. So investment was declining at 50% during the first quarter. Investment was growing at 40% during the fourth quarter. The investment cannot be attributed to the stimulus. Most of the stimulus, almost all of it, took the form of payments that were designed to stimulate consumption, not investment. The investment turnaround occurred, again, primarily because the things that were causing investment to be stifled during the fall quarter of 2008 and the first quarter of 2009, namely the financial crisis, that problem ended, and it is for that reason and prospects of future growth, I believe, that we are on track to see investment turnaround and hopefully jobs turnaround very shortly. Speaking of which,
so the administration said the stimulus program saved or created 2 million jobs. So why wouldn't the jobs market be in worse shape without stimulus?
Well, those kinds of claims are not the sorts of things that we have looked at in the past. You can always say, but for this, what would it have been? The problem is those kinds of statements are neither provable nor refutable. And so most economists look to real data, and the real data that we've lived or had to live or die by. And when I was chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, every month I went on and had to defend or deal with these numbers as well. And the numbers you look at are the job growth numbers. Those are the only real numbers that we have. And most of the numbers that people cite about what would have been, I think, are numbers that can't be substantiated. I have a boring life. I spend most of my time hanging around with economists, and I haven't met an economist out here who places much stock in those numbers.
Oh, come on, I wouldn't buy that. But speaking of numbers, here's one for you. If you want a boring life, we could talk. Anyway, so as of January 31st, 2 kids under 3 years old, I'll tell you, it keeps you in bed early at night. Okay, so $453 billion in spending and tax cuts from the legislation has been obligated, right? That's only about halfway. We're only about halfway there with this stimulus program. So do you have any optimism that we just perhaps haven't seen the peak benefits of the program?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, this is something that the problem that the Obama administration is having is also a problem that the Bush administration had as well. When during our last few months of the administration, we thought about trying to institute some more stimulus activity. We knew that the Obama team was going to push for a stimulus, and the question was, should we get there early and try to do the job? We already knew we were in a recession. Why wait? And the reason is that it's just very difficult to get money out into the economy quickly, whether you put it in individuals' hands, whether you try to put it in government agencies, the so-called shovel-ready stuff. It just doesn't work very quickly. And unfortunately, as we go forward, the money will not come out quickly enough to have much of an effect on economic growth.
So then perhaps should we not be so concerned, sorry to interrupt you, Professor Lazear, when the stimulus fades? Because as you know, there's been a lot of talk and conjecture as to what will happen then to markets, economies, et cetera.
I am not as concerned about the stimulus fading because, again, I don't place much weight on the effect of the stimulus on economic growth. I think right now the best thing that we could do would be to get the budget under control and not worry so much about the stimulus fading. The big dangers for the economy as we go forward are the very large expansion in the size of government spending and the end of tax cuts that will mean tax increases. Both of those factors are going to have adverse consequences for business investment, and I fear for jobs as well. I wish we could get those things back on track so that we could get job growth to take off again.
Does the U.S. and our government need to pay closer attention to what's going on in Greece and the Eurozone with those budget deficit woes right now?
Well, I wouldn't focus so specifically on Greece per se. I mean, obviously, Greece is the current problem. I think the lesson that we learn from looking at countries like Greece is that we do deal in a world economy, and we can't pretend that the United States is an island. We have to understand that when things go wrong overseas, it affects us, and when things go wrong here, it affects our overseas trading partners. So anything like the problem in Greece will affect us. I believe that the European community will deal with this in a reasonably effective way, and I don't think that the impact of Greece on the United States will be all that pronounced. But none of these things is good, obviously.
Well, Professor, if you say you're a boring guy, that was certainly a lively chat, and we want to thank you for it. And Lazear, the former chairman of the U.S. Council of Economic Advisors, currently professor at Stanford University Graduate School of Business. Once again, thank you.